just you and I.
Wow, there are a lot of different facets to cloud security. How do we know that our organization is really creating a comprehensive, layered approach that addresses the risks that are relevant to our data and our regulations that our company is subjected to? Well, that's where cloud security frameworks and standards come in. In this lesson, we're going to kind of explain the common frameworks and standards for cloud security, talk about the business case that really should drive what framework your organization or what standard your organization is trying to meet. And then we're going to compare and contrast some of the major security frameworks. There are really three that I think are most important to talk about in the context of this certification. The first one is ISO. ISO stands for the International Organizations of Standards and / the International Electrotechnical Commission. So ISO or IEC. So the 27,000 series are really the most important technical standards produced by ISO, and the cloud standards are the 2717 series. And these standards, they are really the guidelines for provisioning cloud services, how to protect customer information, and privacy. Now, these ISO standards are not laws, but they reflect the EU regulations and are required in some countries as an industry standard. They are quite lengthy and quite granular, and it can be costly to implement the ISO standard. But it does have strong reputation internationally because it is an international standard and meets many of the requirements that countries have to operate there. FedRAMP. This is the US federal set of standards regarding cloud products and services. It leverages the NIST standards, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which releases publications on the best practices for protecting data in non-classified government systems. FedRAMP really is the standard that organizations need to hit in order for governments to, or U.S. government entities to participate in using their cloud services. FedRAMP is very expensive and very labor intensive to meet. That's why really it's only appropriate for organizations that are going to be vendors of the government. Then there's C-STAR. This is from the Cloud Security Alliance, and STAR is really an acronym for Security, Trust, Assurance, and Risk. This is an audit framework provided by this Cloud Security Alliance. It's freely available. Organizations, it does cost something to be audited against this standard, and we're going to go into more of the levels of maturity that are associated with the C-STAR standard in future modules. But one of the good things about it is that any organization that's even contemplating whether they want to go to the cloud should really leverage this as a great resource to look at how their controls stack up against this standard. It's built on the existing controls that exist in some of the other standards such as ISO, as well as the ISCPA standard referred to as SSA 18, and it really covers most of the cloud best practices. And it is fairly easy to implement, and it encourages continual auditing, and this is an organization that's publicly available and can be updated fairly frequently. One of the other advantages is that once you've undergone a third-party assessment with the C-STAR program, you can publicly register that attestation on their website. So your vendors and other organizations can investigate and look at your third-party report and see how you stack up against the C-STAR standard. All right, quiz question. Which framework would be best for a multinational corporation operating cloud environments in different geographic regions? The ISO standard, the Cloud Security Alliance standard, or the FedRAMP? If you said ISO, you're correct. It has international in the title, and it is well regarded and recognized as being one of the highest caliber international standards for cloud security and best practices. All right, in summary, we talked about the common security frameworks and standards that organizations can leverage to ensure that they are meeting their compliance and security obligations in the cloud. And we talked about the use cases, really, that ISO is excellent for international organizations, FedRAMP, if any company that's really going to be a vendor or servicing the US government, FedRAMP is a good option for that. And then CSTAR is really organizations that don't necessarily have the most sensitive data or don't have the budget to really implement or audit against some of these more expensive standards. That's a great place to start, and it covers most of the best practices and sets an organization up so if they want to meet future standards in the future, such as ISO or some of the SSAE 16 or 18 standards, CSTAR really sets organizations up well if they want to have other third-party audits of standards against them in the future. All right, standards help us meet the rules of the road. I'll see you in the next lesson.